Now at 5:30 on Newswatch.
The Catholic Church opposes the new Ohio health care bill. Politicians continue to offer their support for the Keystone Pipeline.
And in sports, it was a weekend full of winning.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens. This is Newswatch.
There's an outcry among Catholic leaders around the country. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rachel Hoops.
And I'm Alyssa Hansen. They are protesting a new law requiring church-affiliated institutions to cover employees' birth control in health insurance plans. Several Ohio bishops have joined the protest and shared their opposition in letters read to parishioners last weekend. They are asking parishioners to pray or fast or contact lawmakers in Congress. Tina Kuna found out what people in Athens think.
The Department of Health and Human Services now requires most health insurance plans to cover birth control. The new law also applies to Catholic hospitals, schools and other non-profit organizations affiliated with the church. They would have to pay for employees' health insurance and, as a consequence, birth control. Catholic belief forbids contraceptive measures and abortion. People interviewed on the street had different views on the regulation and how it affects Catholic institutions.
I think it's reasonable because it's against their obvious religious and moral standards, but personally I think that everyone should be allowed free birth control.
Forced through various ways to support things we don't believe, it is a very, very big challenge, so I'm very concerned.
The Catholic Church, again, should not even mingle in the government. I mean, we got enough corrupt people in the government nowadays that they should just stay out. The Catholic Church should even stay out of it.
Many people are on birth control for reasons other than birth control. I mean, some people need it to prevent endometriosis and medical conditions. So basically, I think it's ridiculous, and I think that birth control should definitely be covered.
The Department of Health allows employers with objections based on religion an additional year to comply with the new law. They won't be obligated to provide these health insurance plans until August 2013. Tina Kühne reporting for WOUB News.
The Catholic churches in Athens and their diocese did not want to make a public statement on the issue. Sheriff's deputies in Lancaster say the bank robbery suspect spotted in Athens last week has turned himself in. Billy Cottle was spotted near Schaefer and Union Streets on Thursday night. Fairfield County Sheriff's deputies believed him to be armed and dangerous. Cottle turned himself in yesterday after he was accused of robbing a People's Bank.
More fracking protesters are traveling to Athens to make their opinions known. The former mayor of Dish, Texas, has seen the fracking process and wants Athens to avoid it. He spoke at Morton Hall on Saturday and expressed his concerns over the health and economic consequences of fracking. Supporters of the process say it will create jobs and boost the local economy. Oil and gas companies have been locking up mineral rights in Athens County, but no permit applications have been filed with state agencies. The Burr Oak Lodge will close tomorrow and put about 40 people out of work. The State Park Lodge was losing money and saw about half of their normal profits from 2001 to 2010. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources originally planned a temporary shutdown to see why the lodge was losing money. The 60-room facility no longer has an operator, but some of the workers might be hired to operate cabins at the park.
The Morgan County Commission, Village of Crown City, and the Vinton County Commission have all received funds to improve infrastructure and help out local businesses. The Community Development Block Grant Program gave $700,000 total. Morgan and Vinton County will each receive $50,000 to train micro-entrepreneurs and to give loans to prospective local businesses. The Village of Crown City will get $600,000 to build a new wastewater treatment plant that will benefit 176 households.
Good evening and welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. Right now in Athens, it is 47 degrees and we can see the wind is coming from the south at 8 miles per hour. Humidity is at 34%. 20 degrees is our dew point and pressure at 30 inches. Taking a look around our region, as you can see, it is 47 in Lancaster, 37 in St. Clairsville, and 57 down in Gallipolis. Taking a look tonight a little bit closer, what we can see is it's going to be partly cloudy throughout the night, 35 degrees. We have winds coming from the south at 8 to 11 miles per hour, but it's really going to be a beautiful night just like we saw throughout the day. So, Rachel and Alyssa, that's something you have to look forward to.
I came into the station today wearing my light jacket. Am I going to be able to do that for the rest of the week? I mean, it was great for me.
Well, you'll have to find out, but I think tomorrow you'll get away with it.
Are we sure it's January? That's my question.
You know what? From the weather, judging from this week, as you can see, it's going to be a little bit crazy for January, I think.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Thanks, Angela.
Yep.
Union membership is up around the country, but it has fallen here in Ohio. Even though more Ohioans say their jobs are covered by unions, membership has dropped by 8,000 since 2010. Economists say a possible cause could be the decline in available state government jobs. New York remains the most heavily unionized state, and North Carolina has the fewest union members. Construction on the Horseshoe Casino in Cincinnati will continue as scheduled after investigators decide it's safe. More than a dozen workers were hurt on Friday when they were pouring a section of concrete on the concrete floor. 3 of the workers needed surgery, and 1 worker is still in the hospital in serious condition. The construction company is working with investigators to see why the collapse occurred. This accident is only weeks after a similar incident at a Cleveland casino under the same developers.
Ohio education and food program officials want more children in low-income areas to participate in their program. The summer food service program offers free breakfast or lunch to students during the summer. Officials want more kids participating after a survey found 45% of Ohio's school-age children are eligible for the program based on their family incomes. According to the Ohio Association of Second Harvest Food Banks and the Ohio Department of Education, only 1/5 of eligible children participated last year. A recent study says fewer Ohio teenagers are getting their driver's licenses. The Dayton Daily News analyzed the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles records and found a 9% drop in 16 and 17-year-old licensed drivers over the past 5 years. University of Dayton professor John Heitman says teens are possibly waiting because the economy makes it harder to find a job. Heitman also says technology is making it easier to connect with friends so teens don't have to travel to see them.
The Logan City Council has killed a solid waste recycling plan for the 3rd time.
Coming up, we'll talk to the Athens County Commissioner who will work with the Environmental Protection Agency on a new plan. And the final Occupy protests are being shut down at the Capitol, next on Newswatch. Occupy protesters in Washington, D.C. were finally told to leave today. This morning, Park Police gave the protesters an ultimatum: stop camping overnight or be arrested. CNN reporter Greg Black looks at how protesters reacted to this eviction notice.
The clock is ticking for occupiers at 2 camps in the nation's capital. Park Police put up notices giving protesters until around noon to pack up all their camping gear.
That if they come to arrest me for camping, they can take me to jail. I'll be out the next day. I'll be right back here and they can come arrest me again.
The notices went up after a congressional hearing last week questioned whether it was legal for protesters to sleep overnight on city grounds.
Stay awake, stay vertical, don't be camping here, and you're welcome to stay and have an active protest as long as you want.
Witnesses say one protester was so upset he went tent to tent, taking down the notices on Sunday. Video posted on YouTube shows what happened next.
I have done nothing wrong! I have done nothing wrong!
The man was then hauled off by Park Police. The scuffle came after an even bigger confrontation in Oakland, California. Police there say Occupy protesters pelted them with flares, metal pipes, and rocks, all while trashing a YMCA and City Hall. In return, officers used tear gas and smoke grenades on the crowd, arresting as many as 400 people. I'm Greg Black reporting.
Some D.C. protesters still refuse to leave. They plan to stay awake all night in protest. Local churches have invited many of the protesters to stay the night so they don't get arrested.
Investigators in upstate New York are trying to find out what is causing a mystery illness in teenage girls. The teens are suffering from uncontrolled verbal outbursts and twitching. Health officials have said the girls' symptoms are consistent with conversion disorder. But now environmental activist Erin Brockovich is involved, and she's trying to determine whether a 1970 train derailment could be the reason for the illnesses. Water and soil were collected at the site where 1 ton of cyanide crystals spilled onto the ground over 40 years ago. Congressional Republicans aren't ready to call it quits on the Keystone Pipeline debate, even though President Obama rejected the pipeline earlier this month. Lawmakers are planning to introduce legislation creating the 1,700-mile-long pipeline to carry crude oil from Canada to the U.S. Gulf Coast. A Republican senator says the move would be good for the U.S. economy and gaining energy independence.
We're doing it to create jobs and good energy for our country. I think Americans, when they look at the issue, absolutely agree with that in huge numbers. It's very important for the country, and it's a no-brainer to most people. It's 20,000 immediate jobs. It's a lot of oil from Canada every day, 700,000 barrels. That's the amount we get from Venezuela. We could turn them away completely. We could lessen by that amount what we need to get from the Middle East.
The president said he rejected the pipeline because Republicans set an unrealistic timetable on the project, preventing a full investigation of the possible environmental impact.
The people of Peru are assessing damage tonight after an earthquake hit early this morning. The 6.3 magnitude quake hit the city of Ica, injuring 96 people, damaging homes, and leaving some hotels without power. Despite its coastal location, no tsunami warning has been issued for the area. A 6.9 earthquake hit the area 4 months ago, leveling several buildings and leaving some homeless. Japan's population is expected to fall by 30% over the next 50 years. That's according to a new study by the Japanese government, which shows Japan's population falling from 128 million people now to about 87 million people by the year 2060. An increase in lifespans and a low birth rate are cited as two key factors behind the decline. The country's average life expectancy dipped in 2011 after the March earthquake and tsunami, which killed approximately 19,000 people.
The Athens-Hocking Solid Waste District has proposed 3 different recycling plans and has been turned down every time. The Solid Waste District Board will now work with the Environmental Protection Agency to create a new plan for the area. And now Athens County Commissioner Lenny Alyssa joins us now. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
With all these multiple plans being shot down, is Athens County kind of thinking of breaking away and forming their own district by now?
But one of the things we're looking at is getting a waiver from the EPA requirements that if you have less than $100,000 in population, 100,000 people in population in your county, that you have to be in multiple county districts. So I put in a call to the EPA Director Nally today and asked to arrange a meeting. I haven't heard back from his office yet, so we could try to get that waiver.
So if Athens did break off into their own district, what's kind of the timetable for that action?
Well, I'd have to go through the same solid waste ratification plan after they gave us a waiver to break through, so we would still have about 6 months or so to actually get that into place. The other thing that would have to take place would be a division of assets from the 2-county district to the 1-county district, so all that would have to be negotiated between the 2 counties. So there's no firm timetable, but it'll take a significant amount of time to get it done.
You mentioned a couple of negotiations you'd have to make with Hocking County. So what's basically the kind of the process you have to go through? Is it doable?
It depends on how they vote. It's a matter of, if you agree to part ways, you're going to have to come to some sort of agreement. Obviously, it would be based on a percentage share, which is the best way to do a district in the case of ours, and go from there.
You mentioned the EPA too, and the EPA is being involved now. And is there any question that the EPA will now write the management plan?
Well, the EPA has been involved all along. What we're doing is updating our 15-year solid waste plan that's mandated by the EPA. And what happens is it gets updated every 5 years. So we're in time for a new 15-year cycle, and this is the first 5-year section of that cycle. So what happens now is if we don't get a plan that's locally designed and locally approved, which happened, the Logan City Council voted it down, the EPA will write the plan for us and take away that local control that we've been fighting for and making sure we have in our midst. So one of the problems is that the EPA can do whatever they want with the plan, change all the things we've done. They have some real stringent goals that need to be met in 15 years. We might have to meet them in 5, depending on what they write. We have no idea what they're going to write. What happens is they write the plan and they bring it back to the counties and say, you have to fund it.
Okay. So the timetable for this, how long does the EPA have to write the new management plan?
There's no timetable for them. They write the rules, they operate on their rules, so obviously they would have to have it done by the end of the year would be most likely, because that's when our new plan would take effect. That's the timetable that's in place. Our plan had to be to the EPA by ratification, so it would take place at the end of the next calendar year. So the beginning of the next calendar year would be in place. So that happens, I would assume they'd have it written in time.
So you mentioned that the Athens County and Hocking County would have to fund it. How much do you think this would possibly cost?
Well, we had put in the plan a $3 per ton generation fee. Typically, the EPA has written some plans that you see $5, $8, $9 generation fees. So you have tipping fees, generation fees, you have designation fees, you have a lot of different fees that can be collected to operate and fund the plan. So it's going to be up to the EPA to decide how much. They won't decide how much they think it's going to cost. They're just going to say you're going to have to do this, and then we're going to have to figure out how much it costs. More than likely, it's going to be much higher than what we did, because that's what's happened in the other plans they've written. They've never come back cheaper.
Mr. Elias, thank you for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
On Wall Street today, stocks cut much of their losses but still finished in the negative. Ongoing worries over the Eurozone debt crisis kept investors from becoming fully invested in stocks. Here's a look at stocks of local interest.
Coming up, temperatures are rising, especially tomorrow. We're going to see a wide variety of conditions throughout this week, and I have more information on that in my extended forecast. Hi, welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm Angela Reigard. Right now in Athens, it is 47 degrees. We have the winds coming from the south at 8 miles per hour. We have our humidity is at 34% with dew point at 20 degrees, and pressure is at 30 inches. Taking a look around the region, it is 42 in Zanesville, 57 down in Huntington, and 37 in Steubenville. What we can see here is over tonight we're going to have a little bit of the temperature is going to drop just a little bit, and tonight for today our high was at 48 degrees, our low at 34. Our average was 41 degrees and at 23 for our low, which isn't quite far off from our temperatures that we saw today. Our record was 71 for our high and -2 for our low, and that was set in 1947 and 1934. If you were up bright and early, the sun rose at 7:35 in the morning, and the sun set just a couple minutes ago at 5:45. Today what we saw was just beautiful weather, and that's surprising because we had this low pressure system sitting right above in the Great Lakes, but that didn't affect us much. What will affect us is this high pressure system, which is right on the tail, which is going to cause that beautiful weather that we have tomorrow. That high pressure system's moving its way in, and in time for Wednesday, we're going to see a low pressure system that's on the tail of that. It's going to take over and bring us some rain Wednesday evening in particular. Tonight, 35 degrees in Athens. It's partly cloudy. We have winds coming from the south, 8 to 11 miles per hour. Taking a deeper look into tonight is by 9 p.m. we're going to see the temperatures at 41 degrees. They'll be dropping throughout the evening to 38 degrees by 3 a.m. Tomorrow it's going to be that beautiful sunny day, which we can look forward to. 60 degrees, mostly sunny. Our winds are going to be at 16 miles per hour. However, we can see that gusts will be at 31 miles per hour. So that is something you need to be aware of. Taking a deeper look tomorrow, when you wake up in the morning by 9 p.m. bright and early, it's going to be 38 degrees, and by the evening it's going to increase to 56, so that's something you can look forward to as you leave work. Taking a look at our extended forecast, as you can see, 60 degrees tomorrow. Like I said, Wednesday we're going to start to see that rain. In time for your work week, it's going to be extremely beautiful, 36 degrees, and you can look forward to sunny skies. So Rachel and Alyssa, what's really funny is tomorrow you might get away with a light jacket. Midweek you need that umbrella, and I think hat and gloves in time for the weekend. So
I think that might be the prettiest 7-day forecast I've ever seen in January, even with that rain.
Exactly. Seriously, it will be great.
Thanks, Angela.
Yep.
And now, just like we're having beautiful weather here, the Bobcats, men's basketball team in particular, had a beautiful game on Saturday.
Oh, that's right, Alyssa. It's a beautiful thing right now in Athens. Everything's beautiful. The Ohio men's basketball team defeated Ball State to win its 4th straight game. And in the NBA, Kyrie Irving and the Cleveland Cavaliers, how about them? They pulled off a stunning upset at the Boston Garden. All that and more coming up next on Newswatch. It was a highly successful weekend for Ohio sports teams. Men's and women's basketball, wrestling, and swimming and diving were all victorious at events taking place from Friday through Sunday. The ladies of the track and field team also did work, earning 14 top 5 finishes in Friday's Youngstown Invitational. Perhaps the most publicized of these victories was that of the men's basketball team, which defeated Ball State on Saturday in a nationally televised game. The Cats toppled the Cardinals 59-55, giving Ohio its 4th straight win and 17th on the season. Walter Offit led the Cats with 13 points, while Evo Baltic chipped in 10 points, and DJ Cooper dished out 6 assists. Ohio led by as many as 14 in the first half, but Ball State cut the lead to 7 by halftime. Behind strong play from forward Chris Bond, the Cardinals managed to tie the game with 6 minutes remaining before the Cats took control for good. Head coach John Gross cites defense as the key to Ohio's victory.
At the end of the day, we won the game because we defended, forced 22 turnovers and held them to 33%. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you know, once again, another game where I just don't think in the past, in previous years, we'd have been able to pull that one out.
After all of the dust has settled from weekend action, the Cats still find themselves tied for second in the MAC East. Akron remains in first place after defeating Central Michigan 74-64 on Saturday for its 3rd straight win. Buffalo and Kent State were also winners over Northern Illinois and Toledo, respectively, while Bowling Green fell to Eastern Michigan and Miami fell to Western Michigan. The Ohio women's basketball team ended its trip to Michigan on a high note by bucking the Broncos of Western Michigan 72-59. Sophomore guard Siobhan Robinson netted 22 points for the Lady Cats, which put up double that number, 44 points, in the first half alone. With the victory, the Lady Cats have reached the 10-win plateau for the first time in 3 seasons. Samika Randall's squad has 2 games on tap this week to bolster its MAC resume, and both opponents hail from the Wild MAC West. On Wednesday, the Eastern Michigan Eagles will put their first-place MAC West record on the line at the Convo. Then Ohio will pack its bags and head over to DeKalb, Illinois to try to tame the Huskies of Northern Illinois. The Ohio Bobcat wrestling team found its way back into the win column last night, traveling to Buffalo and defeating the Bulls 22-18. The Cats, who improved to 3-5 on the season, put their feet on the gas pedal early, taking 4 of the first 5 bouts en route to a 16-3 lead. The Bulls made a push late with victories in the 141 and 149 weight classes, but Harrison Hightower, the freshman, pinned Wally Mazars to seal the deal for Ohio. The Bobcats' next match will pit them against the Clarion Eagles on December 4th, and that match will be at the Convo. For the 4th and 5th times this season, a visiting swimming and diving team left Athens feeling the sting of defeat. The Bobcats defeated West Virginia on Friday and Ball State on Saturday to remain unbeaten in 2012. On Friday against the Mountaineers, Lauren Williams took home top honors in the 1,000 freestyle with a time of 10 minutes and 4.80 seconds, while diver Haley Bartlett, just a freshman, broke her own record with a 3-meter combined score of 310.95. The following day against the Ball State Cardinals, Ohio continued the cruise, winning each of its first 10 events en route to a 189-106 victory. The Lady Cats will next be in action this coming Friday when they head west to Cincinnati to compete at Xavier. And just a few miles north, the number 3 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes dropped the number 22 ranked Michigan Wolverines in men's college basketball 64-49. The Wolverines kept it close against their rival, entering the second half down only 3. However, the Buckeyes blew the game open in the second half, scoring 40 points and holding Michigan to just 28. The Bucks were led by Lenzel Smith Jr., who dropped 17 points and pulled down 12 boards, including 8 on the offensive glass. The Buckeyes' next challenge will be February 4th against the 20th ranked Wisconsin Badgers. And in the association, the Cleveland Cavaliers squared off with the Boston Celtics last night and took the win in spectacular fashion. Kyrie Irving and the Cavs found themselves down 11 in the 4th quarter, but closed the game with a 12-0 run to steal the victory. Down 1 point, Kyrie Irving knifed through the lane, split a double team, and dropped in a layup with 2 seconds remaining for the win. The Cavs moved into a tie for the last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference with the win, and Boston drops to 9-10 on the season. And if you still can't get enough basketball, be sure to check out Hardwood Heroes for the best TVC basketball coverage in the area. The show airs on WOUB2 on Sundays at 6:30, but you can always check out the website at woub.org/heroes for continued boys and girls high school basketball coverage. So Rachel and Alyssa, that's all I got for sports.
All right, thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
And stay tuned tonight on WOUB.
Here's a look at what's coming up next on your public television station.
McCall, Idaho was the site of some very realistic sculptures at the 47th Annual Winter Carnival. This year, 32 sculptures graced the frozen landscape. One of the most popular, a towering representation of Buzz Lightyear himself. But Jurassic Park took home the top prize. It featured 2 dinosaurs and a volcano visitors could walk through. It took 4 sculptors, 220 hours, and 10 to 20 tons of ice to build it.
Angela, I don't think it's going to be cold as those ice sculptures out. Final look at weather.
Yep, we can take a look. It's 47 degrees right now in Athens. Taking a look tonight, what we can see is temperatures dropping from 9 p.m. until 3 a.m. at 38 degrees. And taking a look at the week, it's going to be warm tomorrow, and then it's going to be great for your work week.
Thanks, Angela.
Yep.
And that does it for our broadcast on this 30th January 2012. Thanks for watching. For Angela Reigard, Pat Chiesa, and Alyssa Hansen, I'm Rachel Hoops.
You can get the latest news and weather on the WOUB Radio Network. And remember, you can view our program anytime online at WOUB.org. Have a great night.